Save Our Biodiversity Telethon. I'm Chris Gambian. Thank you so much to everybody who's been chipping in over the last few hours. Our total is going well. We're well on our way to reaching our goal of $300,000. So thank you again for everybody who's already chipped in. And if you can spare a few dollars between now and midnight tomorrow night, 33 hours left to go, that would be very much appreciated. And that money, as I've said numerous times now, makes an enormous difference to our ability to actually do this work. The reality is government does not fund us to advocate on behalf of nature. We rely on donations, and every dollar that you give us goes directly towards sometimes unglamorous, not that sexy, but really important work that means we can go to Parliament, we can go to the bureaucrats, we can go to business, we can go everywhere and make sure that environment is being heard when big decisions are being made. So again, thank you to everybody who's chipped in so far. It makes a huge difference. Now, one of the things that we're particularly proud of at the Nature Conservation Council is that we are not just one organisation. We are in fact a peak body for over 180 member organisations across New South Wales. Some of those organisations are real small local community organisations that might be doing bush care or might be advocating on a particular issue or for a particular species. Others are huge organisations like the National Parks Association or the Total Environment Centre. But across the state, there are a number of really fantastic regional organisations that play a really important role in speaking up for nature across that particular region. And one of those organisations is the Hunter Community Environment Centre based in Newcastle, who really have this huge remit, a lot of very precious nature to take care of, but also the belly of the beast when it comes to fighting for the energy transition and cleaning up the energy sector. So we're very lucky to have HCEC around as one of our member organisations, very grateful for the work that they're doing. And joining us now is Jo Lynch, who is the coordinator of the Hunter Community Environment Centre and also a board member of the Nature Conservation Council. Welcome, Jo.
Thank you very much, Chris Gambian. Very pleased to be here.
I'm very glad to have you here, but tell us a little bit about HCEC for those who don't know about your magnificent organisation.
Alrighty then, I can do. So the Environment Centre has been here in Hamilton, Newcastle since 2004, and we are a not-for-profit grassroots environment centre and primarily a resource centre for activists and community members who would like to get together and do something about the issues facing environment and climate. The Environment Centre has run many campaigns over its time. Lots of them have focused on coal and the impacts on local biodiversity. So the fourth coal terminal that was proposed for the Newcastle export port here, the coal export, was campaigned on by the Environment Centre. There was a very important that migratory bird species habitat that was going to be set to be impacted by that. And so that's an example of the kind of work we do. It's, you know, here in the Hunter, we've got coal and we've got lots of beautiful water and lots of beautiful bushland. And so, yeah, juggling with those things has been the history. And then, yeah, biodiversity has always been a big focus of the Environment Centre. I've been on board for 5 years and I don't know all of the history, but yeah, so coal's been a big focus. And in more recent times, we've turned our attention specifically to coal-fired power stations and the impacts of coal ash waste on New South Wales water and marine biodiversity. And we also have another project that's more recent about squirrel gliders, which I'm keen to talk to in more detail to later on. But yeah, the Environment Centre is, yeah, I would encourage you to come and visit us if you're ever in Newcastle, to come and get a proper flavour.
It's a fantastic place to visit. Like, you can just walk in the door and you get a sense of the energy. And again, another organisation that is funded through donations and runs on the smell of an oily rag. And, you know, we run on the smell of an oily rag and we're against fossil fuels, which makes things even harder. That was a dumb joke. Peter is shaking her head in dismay at me right now. But Jo, now, I don't want to speak for the people who are watching this, but I know that there's a number of people who will be watching this right now and going, oh my goodness, look at that young woman. Isn't it fantastic to have young people involved in the conservation movement? Tell us a little bit about how you first got involved, why you got involved. You're an artist. How did you turn out to be an environmentalist?
Oh, goodness. Well, look, I mean, if you're paying attention to what's going on in the world and you've got an opportunity to kind of get involved in acting on climate change and protecting biodiversity, I mean, it came pretty naturally to me. I think as an artist, I have an attunement to beautiful things and valuable things, and I think it was nature, and art for me are kind of one and the same, in many respects, and in the business of creating beautiful things initially in my life, and then came to realize that protecting them is kind of the first port of call. And I became a climate activist, and that was my sole focus for a while. Incredibly kind of, first learned about her situation and felt incredibly emotionally affected by it, and channeled that into getting involved in my local community, and found the community in Newcastle that had been doing that for decades before me. And they offered me a job at the Environment Centre as the coordinator 4 years ago. So yeah, I mean, I had a bit of a penchant for facilitating meetings and was really kind of just keen, and had energy that folks here at the Environment Centre recognised. And yeah, feel very lucky to have been offered a job, and I haven't looked back really. It's been phenomenal.
Yeah, so a moment ago you mentioned squirrel gliders, and the Environment Centre has been running a pretty significant local campaign and getting a lot of people involved in that work. Do you want to tell us a little bit about why are squirrel gliders, what are they, why are they at risk, and what have you been doing to try to save them?
Yeah. So look, the Squirrel Glider campaign for the Environment Centre kind of started over COVID, because we were a little stuck in the office and had some things, just banked up. And we were doing a bit of research on local biodiversity, and it also come across and been notified by concerned community members about the rate of clearing in this area and the proposed developments that are going to affect certain species habitat. So the squirrel glider kind of craze that we're on, a fascination that we have at the moment, well, it's not a fascination now, it's a fully fledged project and focus of ours, but it emerged over COVID, and we would take trips to the bush and we put some trail cameras up in hopes of spotting one of the little elusive creatures. We haven't yet been able to spot one. And so, that was concerning to us, as well as that we couldn't, the data shows that they're in this area, but we haven't been able to find one. Could be something to do with us not being super trained in the trail camera setting. But, it emerged really organically, but partially because it's becoming increasingly obvious that their habitat, which is squirrel gliders, prefer habitat beneath 100 metres of elevation. So sadly for them, that coincides with where us humans really like to exist as well. And a lot of their habitat's already been wiped out, and the importance of the literal size of the bush. So pieces of bushland, lesser than 100 acres, in total. The squirrel glider populations in those aren't expected to live for more than 50 years. So, in rapidly shrinking habitat available to them, we are really concerned about particularly the local populations here in Newcastle, and a similar fate is faced by pretty well threatened species, as we know. But look, it's been a fantastic way to really get across exactly what the threats are to bushland and threatened species more broadly in Newcastle. But the gliders, we have a particular affection for them because they often get confused with the sugar glider, which I like to think of as their kind of smaller, more nimble, and probably slightly cuter younger cousin there. And the poor old sugar glider, a squirrel glider, is in some instances we've heard anecdotally they're being outcompeted by sugar gliders for food and habitat in this local area, the Central Coast in particular. That's the case. The Central Coast is a hotspot for them, but of course our bushland in Newcastle and Lake Macquarie, and it's the same bushland really if you're not thinking in terms of LGA boundaries. So look, they need a hand. The squirrel gliders, they seem to be suffering, and we know that their habitat, like some of the corridors that we're coming to grips with, we've been doing some mapping of the habitat that they exist in Newcastle here, and it's really concerning particularly the connectivity which they need to move to find a mate and carry on, their generations are being really quickly eroded. So we've got a nest box project at the moment, and we're going to be putting a lot of nest boxes up to accommodate the loss of hollow trees in the electorate. In fact, there's about probably 400 hollow trees just from one development that I know about that are going to be cleared this year. So all this is happening right now. I don't know what to say about squirrel gliders.
We had an art exhibition recently for squirrel gliders.
We had an art exhibition, yeah. That was absolutely phenomenal. Like, the thing is, they're incredibly cute. I'm absolutely cultured by their cuteness, that's for sure. And others are too. And we had a fundraiser to help us to purchase some food trees for gliders. So we're also going to be planting food trees for gliders as where we're installing the nest boxes, because you need a house and food to subsist as a squirrel glider. So yeah, we had about 20 local artists make some beautiful pictures of squirrel ladders for us. I put together a brief for them so that we weren't getting sugars, we were getting squirrel ladder renditions specifically. And that was a phenomenal collaboration. I'm so stoked to be part of that. And yeah, I think, because of the cuteness factor, it's a really exciting way to engage people in some serious issues that are going on facing biodiversity in their backyards, in our backyard.
Good on you. Hey, Jo, thanks so much for joining us. If folks want to, in addition to contributing to the NCC Save Our Biodiversity Telethon, and people want to chuck HCEC a donation before the end of the financial year, where do they need to go?
hcec.org.au.
Fantastic. Thanks so much, Jo.
Thanks, Chris. Bye.